And welcome back to the World War II lesson. In the last video, we were talking about the Battle of Stalingrad as well as Pearl Harbor and some of the other events going on in 1942. And what we're going to do is look at the African campaign. And what the African campaign is going to go over is sort of this first stage of World War II. And a lot of people see Africa as sort of like the first entry of the United States, as well as the first real ground battles that happened between the Axis and the Allies in the West. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start. I'm going to start over here. So over here, this is Africa in 1942, or yes, in 1942. And what's been going on is in the East, we can kind of go around here. We have a lot of territory that's being in control. Of course, Algeria was French, and Egypt and places in the Middle East are really heavily influenced by Britain. And Germany knows that Africa specifically, as well as the Middle East, contain a fair amount of oil reserves that the British are going to essentially run their military on. So their goal is to take a lot of this area in northern Africa and the Middle East, and the best way to do that is through Italy. So Germany is going to use Italy and Sicily as a jumping off point to you see kind of here they invaded Tunisia, and right now they're going through a revolution of some sort, or if you're watching this far in the future, they did go through a recent revolution. But then what happens is Germany invades Tunisia and then basically spreads west through Algeria to Morocco. If you know the movie Casablanca, that actually takes place in 1942, Morocco. Very wonderful movie. And they spread east. And the Germans were led by a man, General Ernst Rommel. They call him the Desert Fox. And here's an awesome picture of the Afrika Korps, which are, as you see, the German Panzer tanks all lined up on a deserty field somewhere, probably in Tunisia or here in Algeria. So during the first parts of the war between 1940 and 1942, the German forces are going to spread west and they're going to spread east. They're going to get as far east as western Egypt and as far west as Morocco. But in 1942 and 1943, the Americans will actually invade North Africa as part of this man, General George Patton. You see him on a tank talking to one of his soldiers. George Patton is a very famous general. There's also a movie after him called Patton. And Patton finally unleashes these U.S. Sherman tanks as well as infantry units in Morocco. And this is kind of the first stage of the instigation of American armor at the time. And you can definitely see the difference between the United States, the Sherman tank, and of course between the German Panzers. The German Panzers have bigger guns. They're more well armed. The United States essentially has production over the Germans. The United States would build around 50,000 Sherman tanks in World War II. So over here, the American invasion in the West is called Operation Torch. So this is all part of Operation Torch over here. And the Germans are invading westward, and you see here's some British forces as well. They're fighting in the western sands of Algeria in 1942. But the major battle that we're going to get to in Africa is actually going to be it's called El Alamein. El Alamein is going to be about right here. I try to do my best to make it as accurate as possible with the picture. So El Alamein was a British front right before Suez and Cairo and Alexandria, about right here, and the Germans were invading eastward and eastward and eastward, and finally this man right here, General Bernard Montgomery of England, he was the main general on the British side that was observing this force. As you see, you have the major generals in the war actually fighting in North Africa for the first part. And Montgomery is observing the battlefield, and he successfully stopped the Desert Fox, Ernst Rommel, here at El Alamein. And so you can see some British soldiers here. These are SAS troopers, or I think Special Africa soldiers, or I forgot what SAS means, so you could probably go look it up. So yeah, then you see they have machine guns, and they're in their jeeps and such like that. So they really did an excellent job. It's a hard-fought battle. It was a decisive battle, as I said, in 1942. They managed to hold the Germans away from the Suez Canal, because we also have to remember that Suez here, as well as this area right here, the Suez Canal, very, very important waterway for it, especially the British. I mean, all the tankers are coming through here, and of course they have to pass through places like Greece and Italy. But I mean, huge. I mean, this was a major battle right here. This pretty much decided much of who was going to get these Middle Eastern oil reserves. And we'll zoom in on the battle, and I'll show you kind of what took place. So you have the Axis in the blue, and the United Kingdom Army over here. And so basically what they end up doing is sort of creating a feint to the south here, and you can see the 21st Panzer Division trying to come back around here, and then they came back, and they basically just flanked on towards the Mediterranean Sea and really just drove them back to the west. And this was a major battle, as I said. Also, there's a wonderful video right here. So when you're done watching this, you can watch this video, and it'll give you a really good wartime footage and idea of what was going on. So the Africa campaign was actually, and a lot of people don't really recognize the Africa campaign for its true importance, but it really was the most important campaign in the war, depending on who you talk to. And this map is going to tell us why. This map right here is basically a map of northern Africa and the Middle East, as well as you can kind of see how the interwar period of the Middle East affects foreign control. And so here you have French influences here and here. You also have British influences. At this time, Britain actually will own Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan, and Iraq. And as we all know, these countries here are very heavily into exporting oil. They will also own parts of Qatar, Oman, Aden, Yemen as well, and Sudan. And at this time, Saudi Arabia, a lot of people, just a little reminder back to World War I, if anyone has ever seen the movie Lawrence of Arabia, or understands that during World War I, Arabia at the time was sort of this completely hectic area that was allied with the Ottoman Empire in Turkey, and a man by the name of Lawrence came in and really took over essentially Arabia and gave it to the Saudis to essentially be allied with Britain. So Lawrence comes in as part of the Arabian Front in World War I, and basically turns this nation allied to the British. So the British own all of these oil reserves, are our friends with the nations that are giving them this oil reserves. And as we know of what the war effort was needed, oil was a main fuel. I mean, they ran the tanks, they helped keep supply lines going, and the British were able to keep control of all of this area right here, which was essential for the defeat of the Nazis in the next couple years. So that's just a basic overview of Africa. So I hope that gives you a good understanding of why Africa was so important, and we'll see you in the next video.
Whoa. CM Punk style. Look, they got cardboard belts. Yeah, wah. Super Cena style. Regardless of what Super Cena. Wah. Super Cena style. Go now, now the so pretty good. But so with this. Bye.